Okay, good day again. So this is the part two of the patterns of development. So as I have told you on the previous video that you will have 10 patterns of development, I was able to discuss two, and now I'll be discussing the next four. So which gives us six patterns of development. Again, the first one that we have discussed is narration, and the next one is description. So now let's continue to the video so that you can complete the patterns of development. So the first pattern of development that we will be discussing today is definition. Again, I will not read everything. I just wanted you to listen to me, guys, as I explain. So when we say definition, the main purpose of definition is to explain a concept, term, or subject through defining. So the main purpose is to tell what something is, and then you will be defining words, concept, terminologies, and subject that is unfamiliar to the reader. So the writer should be objective in giving a definition. So for example, when we say objective, again, it is primarily factual. So if you will be defining a flower, so you will say that it is a seed-bearing part of a plant. It is consist of reproductive system, and it also has a colorful corolla or the petals. So in this case, you have just stated or you have just defined them based on its purpose definition. So in that case, that is objective because I did not give my own opinion about that. So an analogy has been shown in order to show that um, what I have defined is objective. But there are also times that that definition can be subjective. So when we say subjective, again, you are allowed to put your own opinions because these words are called abstract nouns. When we say abstract nouns, these are the nouns that cannot be perceived by the five senses. So therefore, the example that we have is love, luck, freedom, hatred, loyalty, faith, honesty. Those kind of words cannot be objectively defined. Again, you cannot objectively define abstract nouns because we have different definition when it comes to this word. For example, love. Maybe my definition of love is love conquers all. And then some of you says that love is about letting go. So in that case, we have different definition. That's why this definition needs to have a subjective definition because they are subjective words as nature, okay, in their own nature. And then we also have two types of definition. We have denotation and connotation. So when we say denotation, these are the meanings derived from the dictionary and from the internet. It means literal. These are the literal meanings that you can get from the internet and from the dictionary. And we also have connotation. So the contradicting part of denotation is connotation. So it means that the meaning is not derived from the dictionary and it doesn't have literal meaning. So for example, this is usually used in a poetry. So for example, she is the flower that I wanted to have. So in that case, the flower there doesn't mean that that is an object, a flower, that just part of a tree or a plant rather. But you would say a flower there can be a woman. It symbolizes a woman that that he wanted to have. So in that case, when we say connotation, it doesn't have a literal meaning. Okay. So now the graphic organizer intended for the definition is a bubble map. So in this case, you just write here for example, flower. It is a seed-bearing part of a plant. It is consists of reproductive system. It has a colorful corolla. It is part of a plant. It's beautiful. And then what else? So that you can define the one being described or being defined. Okay? So the main purpose of definition is to clarify misunderstanding about the words that is not familiar. And also, it is to conform with the normalities in the society. Because if we have our own definition on everything, we will not agree on something. We will have a lot of misconception because we are looking on different, we were looking at the things differently. So in that case, the main purpose of definition is to familiarize the readers with the concept or terminology to understand better the words that was presented, and also to find its value, because we have a lot of words, we have tons of words. However, we are not used to using them because we are not so sure of the meaning. Okay, so now let's proceed to the next pattern. Then we have process analysis. So when we say analysis, it is dividing units into parts or components. So in this case, when we say process analysis, you are gonna analyze. You will analyze a process. How? You break down the process first into steps so that you would know the process, the real process, or the analyzation. So if a composition is telling you how to do something, how something was done, or the process of something, then therefore it's a process analysis pattern of development, because it describes the process and the parts of that process. So we have two process of analysis based on its purpose. The first one is directional analysis. When we say directional analysis, it gives direction. The voice used is through command. Okay, for example, if you will be searching how to make a coffee, and then Google or internet will give you a directional analysis. Step 1, get a cup. Step 2, boil a water. Step 3, pour 3 tablespoons of sugar. Step 4, pour 3 tablespoons of creamer. Step 5, pour 2 tablespoons of coffee. Step 6, pour the boiling water. And then step 7, stir or mix everything. So in that case, the command was given. If you will be paying attention, everything was in command and everything is in request. Pour, get, steer, mix, and so on and so forth. So when we say directional analysis, the steps are broken into pieces, and the command used is the words used is to command. You are commanding the reader to do something and to follow what you are trying to tell. But when we say explanatory process doesn't really command. It explains the process on how something works or what happened without expecting the person going to do the process themselves. So for example, how to make a coffee. So in order for you to make a coffee, you need to get a cup of again, you need to get a cup. You need to get a cup. You need to also boil water and to prepare things and so on and so forth. So in this case, explanatory process, it's not by commanding, but it's in a manner of explaining the process without you as a writer using the tone that you are commanding or you are forcing your readers to do something. Okay, so that is the process analysis. And the ones that we can, the graphic organizer intended for process analysis is cycle. So we use cycle for unending process. So the example of how to make a coffee is not applicable here. Why? Because again, when you make a coffee, there is an ending. There is an output. So therefore, it cannot be put into cycle. What can be put into cycle? The process wherein it's an ending, hindi natatapos. Just like photosynthesis. So in a photosynthesis, a human exhale a carbon, and that carbon will be inhaled by the plant, and then the plant will exhale an oxygen, and then that oxygen will be inhaled by the human, and that is an ending process, not unless a human died or a plant died. Okay, so the best graphic organizer for the example how to make a coffee is called sequential order. So in this case, you just write step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, step 6, and so on and so forth. And you have an ending process in this. Okay? So that's it for process analysis. And now, let's have division or classification. So when we say division or classification, you are gonna divide, you will classify, or you will group the categories into their specific categories. So you need to look the relationship of your subcategories to the bigger or the major categories. You need to locate things you want to present them. Just like, for example, you will have vegetable, fruit. Okay, you have to identify what is intended for vegetable and what is intended for plants. So it's called division or classification when you are grouping subcategories into their major categories. And then the graphic organizer intended for this is called listing table. This is an example of a listing table. So in this case, the example is about an upcoming event. So this is a delegation or division of teams and tasks. Who will be for the location, who will be in charge for catering, who will be in charge for decoration, transportation. So all of them are classified and grouped based on their major categories or based on their jobs and tasks to be done. So that's how you do classification or division. And then the last one for this discussion is called exemplification. So when we say exemplification, its main purpose is to explain. However, it was explained by providing a lot of example to your readers. When we say a lot of example, it is a series of detailed examples. So why do we use exemplification? Because there are a lot of times that a reader can only understand if he or she can relate to the situation. That's why if you will be giving an example in your exemplification pattern of development, you must use general ideas, specific and concrete, something that your readers can relate to. Because again, the main purpose of exemplification is to explain the main idea by providing extended example to your readers. Okay? And the graphic organizer with this can be a spider map. Okay, you can use a spider map, which I already told you how to use this. But I'll be honest, with exemplification, you can use a lot of graphic organizer. You can also use network mapping, bubble map. So those are the graphic organizers you can use with exemplification. Exemplification is the only patterns of development that doesn't have the exact graphic organizer because it may vary from one author to another. So it doesn't have any exact. So it's just up to you on how are you going to make your graphic organizer. Okay? So with that, we are already in the activity time. If you have question with the discussion, kindly chat me in the GC so that I can answer your questions. So in this case, just like the activity that you have done on the first pattern of development, wherein you will be transforming a composition into a graphic organizer. So in this case, we made it a little bit harder because in this case, you need to read and analyze the following articles, the composition. But then you need to identify also what pattern of development is used in the text. So you need to identify first what pattern of development is used in the composition. And then after you identifying the pattern of development used in the composition, you need to create a graphic organizer appropriate to that text. So I will give you a hint. The four patterns of development that I have discussed is the only pattern that you need to identify for this four compositions. Okay? I will be asking you to take a screenshot. So kindly take a screenshot and then kindly answer and do this activity for it will be graded. Okay, the first composition, kindly take a screenshot. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, next composition, kindly take a screenshot. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, very good. Kindly take a screenshot of your third composition. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the last composition is, kindly take a screenshot. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, that's a thank you already. Again, that is your sixth patterns of development. If you guys have any questions, just chat me in the GC so that I can answer your queries. Again, do the activity, it will be graded, and wait for the third video that I will be posting. Thank you guys and God bless.